Wrestling has a tendency to make fans feel everything from happiness and triumph to anger, sadness, and defeat. Let's prepare ourselves for WrestleMania 33 on April 2nd, 2017 with these 10 emotional WrestleMania moments. Piper's Swan Song, WrestleMania 3. By the time WrestleMania 3 rolled around, wrestling had officially become a mainstream phenomenon, and a lot of credit for that accomplishment belonged to Rowdy Roddy Piper. So you'll have to forgive Roddy for his elation and extended exit after defeating Adrian Adonis in Piper's so-called farewell match. Of course, Piper would return 2 years later after taking a break to pursue acting, but that doesn't change the genuine emotion and appreciation displayed by Rowdy Piper, announcer Gorilla Monsoon, and the 93,000 fans in attendance at the Pontiac Silverdome. Together again, WrestleMania 7. Randy Savage's match against the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7 was billed as a retirement match, which meant fans were prepared for some kayfabe displays of emotion. In the end, Savage was beaten, and as he lay on the canvas defeated and dejected, his manager, Queen Sherry, entered the ring to further abuse and berate him. That's when Miss Elizabeth suddenly appeared and ran into the ring to save her former flame, which brought the arena audience to their feet. After realizing that Elizabeth had saved him, Savage and her embraced, and he hoisted her atop his shoulder before holding the ring rope so she could exit. As expected, there were plenty of emotions, but it wasn't limited to the wrestlers in the ring, as many spectators were shown with tears flowing. Murica, WrestleMania 7. Let's stay with WrestleMania 7 for another moment and recall the biggest feud at the time. No, not Hulk Hogan facing Sgt Slaughter in the main event, but the war in the Middle East between Saddam Hussein's Iraqi forces and the United States of America. Of course, these two struggles were actually intertwined, as Slaughter's defection to the Iraqi side of the conflict was meant to establish him as the biggest threat to America, leading to Hulk Hogan stepping in as our only hope for victory. Predictably, Hogan won, and in retrospect, the whole thing seemed kind of cheesy. But when American soldiers are fighting overseas and the LA Memorial Sports Arena was completely decked out in red, white, and blue, it's hard not to feel a sudden swelling of patriotism. The Boyhood Dream, WrestleMania 12. After numerous roadblocks and near misses, Shawn Michaels was once again put in a position to potentially win the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 12. Of course, to do so, he would have to beat reigning champ Bret Hart in a grueling 60-minute Iron Man match. Toward the end of the bout, HBK was put into the sharpshooter and it looked like he'd surely lose. But time expired and the match went into overtime. Although Michaels could barely stand, he somehow mustered the strength to execute two sweet chin musics and cover for the win. As he broke down in the ring, announcer Vince McMahon made his now famous call declaring that the boyhood dream has come true for Shawn Michaels. Friends until the end, WrestleMania 20. When Chris Benoit beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 20 for his long-awaited first WWE Heavyweight Championship, the first person to congratulate him was his longtime friend Eddie Guerrero. As the confetti fell, the two hard-working wrestlers embraced in the center of the ring, both holding belts and both crying tears of joy. However, this is a moment that's even more emotional in retrospect, as Guerrero would tragically die of heart failure less than 2 years later. Even worse, Benoit, with his brain damaged beyond belief, would kill his wife and son before taking his own life in June 2007. Do It for Eddie, WrestleMania 22. WrestleMania 22 was the first installment of the event since Eddie Guerrero's untimely passing, and this fact obviously wasn't lost on his best friend and former tag team partner, Rey Mysterio. In a triple threat match, Mysterio managed to defeat Randy Orton and Kurt Angle for his first WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and afterwards celebrated with Chavo and Vicky Guerrero. Based on the outpouring of affection from the crowd, many of whom were holding signs saying "Do It for Eddie," you could tell the significance wasn't lost on the fans either. Love means never having to say you're sorry, WrestleMania 24. Although just a few months prior to WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair declared he would never retire. Many fans expected that, win or lose, the career-threatening match against Shawn Michaels would be his last. HBK was in control nearly the entire time, and after a brutal 20 minutes, Flair beckoned for Michaels to come at him one last time. Clearly distraught, Shawn visibly mouthed the words "I'm sorry, I love you" to his childhood hero before finishing him off. HBK then quickly exited so Flair could embrace his family and enjoy a well-deserved standing ovation and farewell. The Handshake, WrestleMania 26. By the end of WrestleMania 26's main event, one way or another, history would be made. Either The Undertaker would lose and end his undefeated WrestleMania streak, or Shawn Michaels would lose and retire. It was a hard-fought and exciting match on both sides, but in the end, HBK was barely hanging on. In a moment reminiscent of the aforementioned match between Michaels and Ric Flair, Shawn signaled his own end by mimicking Taker's throat-cutting gesture and slapping him before receiving a final tombstone piledriver and pin. The Undertaker then pulled HBK to his feet, shook his hand, embraced him, and quickly exited so Shawn Michaels could enjoy one last moment in the spotlight. 21-1, WrestleMania 30. We all knew The Undertaker's undefeated WrestleMania streak would one day end, but when Brock Lesnar actually beat him at WrestleMania 30, it was as if time had stopped. There was very little celebration by Lesnar, who quickly left with Paul Heyman as Taker lay helplessly on the canvas, and there was no hurry to start the next match. Instead, the dead man and wrestling fans around the world were allowed several minutes to take in the history that had just been made and reflect on everything that led up to this point. When the greatest performer in WrestleMania history finally stood and exited, it was to a lengthy standing ovation from the stunned and clearly emotional arena audience. The Miracle on Bourbon Street, WrestleMania 30. Daniel Bryan's victory at WrestleMania 30 was most notable because the responsibility for his push to the top rested solely on the fans. The original plan was to put Batista atop the promotion alongside John Cena, but fans rejected him and tirelessly supported Bryan as the WWE continuously screwed him over and even attempted to turn him heel as part of the Wyatt family. In fact, Bryan later admitted he originally would have barely made an appearance at WrestleMania 30, but the overwhelming support ended up earning him 2 matches that night, and the event concluded with Bryan hoisting the WWE Championship belts in the air amidst falling confetti and deafening "yes" chants. Alright, dry those tears, the list is over. Did we miss any emotional WrestleMania moments? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and share this video. For more wrestling action and probably less crying, follow the Sportster on YouTube. See ya!